Hey everyone, Jason here, and welcome to episode 7 of Jason's O-Gauge Trains. I have a lot to show you all in today's video. Layout progress, trains added, upcoming events, and I even thought I'd touch on a few of my other hobbies that some of you have been asking about in the comments. So, let's dive in and get to all that's new on Jason's O-Gauge Trains. The first thing I want to announce is that I will be attending the TCA York Train Show, which takes place this fall starting on October 21st. I will be there all day Thursday, Friday, and I might even stick around for the morning on Saturday. It's been 2 years since the last York Train Show, and the last time it took place, I was there and I had an absolute blast. I met and talked to so many great people, and I can't wait to do it again. If you go to the show and you happen to see me walking around the fairgrounds, feel free to say hello. It's always nice to meet those who watch my videos and support this channel. The next announcement I have to make is that a few weeks ago I had several O-Gauge YouTubers over to the house to see the layout. Sid's Trains, Chris's Trains and Things, Norm Charbonneau, Audamus, TrainManDan, and many others came by to run trains and see the layout. This was a group of guys that I've either met in person or have been communicating with extensively over social media for a long time. Most of these guys were over in Ohio to see the Nickel Plate Road 765, and then decided to come on up here to Detroit, Michigan to have a fun social event. We had a lot of fun running a big variety of different trains on the layout, and talked extensively about our mutual love for this hobby. Having meetups like this makes the hobby all the more fun. Some of those guys documented their visits to the layout, and I'll put links to those videos in the description. Okay, enough of the announcements. Let's start by showing you some of the new items that have been added to the layout. First, we have these 6 New York Central aluminum passenger cars made by K-Line. I recently did a full review on these cars, so go check out that video if you haven't already. I love these cars. I'm so glad I was able to add them to my collection. I've also added 2 more C&O 2-bay coal cars. Sid from Sid's Trains grabbed these for me at a train store out east. They will be added to my C&O coal car collection that my Allegheny pulls. Next is a Lionel Canadian Pacific auto rack. I've been looking for one of these for a while now, so I'm really glad I added one more to my ever-growing Lionel auto rack fleet. I also added this BNSF auto rack, which I bought from my friend Charlie, also known as C. Stoya on YouTube. This is the auto rack with the end of train device, or EOTD, mounted on the back. Now, the original EOTD from Lionel did not flash, but what's extra cool about this specific example is that Charlie did a custom modification to actually make the EOTD device flash just like it would in real life. It's powered by a battery and activated by a push button inside the doors. Such a cool feature that Charlie added, and it makes this car all the more unique and special. Finally, I did have my second Atlas Pratt Truss bridge arrive. This is the single track bridge. I will have 2 of these back to back on the upper level, spanning the width of the layout. I hope to have these assembled and installed in the coming months. I know many of you keep asking about my MTH Big Boy. Unfortunately, it's still in the shop for repairs. MTH's new parts website just went live a couple weeks ago, so I'm hoping that means that the parts needed to repair the Big Boy have been ordered and are on their way. It's still a bummer though. I bought that locomotive back in November of 2020, and it was kind of the crowning locomotive for this layout. And since buying it, it has spent 9 out of the last 11 months in the store being repaired. Now look, I've never had this kind of bad luck with MTH products before, but when you spend this kind of money on an MTH Premier steam locomotive, it's pretty disheartening when it doesn't work properly and you can't enjoy it. And I'm just hoping that the parts finally come in and it's repaired once and for all. My MTH PT Hudson is also out right now for repairs. Stockyard Express believes that it has a bad motor. So again, I'm hoping that since MTH's parts website has gone live, that they can order the motor, get that installed, and I'll have that back to the layout soon enough. And I'm really itching to have that locomotive back because I really wanted to pull those new K-Line New York Central aluminum passenger cars. Okay, next, let's do a walk around of the basement and layout and show you all the progress that's been made. Now, I know it may not look like a lot has been done, but I assure you, I've been hard at work down here performing some very tedious tasks mostly related to wiring. Let's start with the signals. I've had this K&R custom signal installed for a few months now, but I've gone ahead and installed 4 more. I installed this double-headed signal, which protects this switch, which will eventually lead to the upper level. I also installed this single-headed signal, which protects the switch in the opposite direction. I'll wire up this second one once the next track is up and running as well. And I also went ahead and installed these 2 single-headed G-type signals right in front of the tunnel. I've wired these signals using the isolated rail technique, and I've achieved what I believe to be very prototypical signal operations. I also wired each signal in a way that I can drop each one to red if desired. I simply spliced in a ground wire from each signal that leads to the MTH AIU accessory port, which allows me to use the remote to turn a permanent ground signal on or off. But as happy as I've been with these signals, it was still bothering me the way that they would flicker when dirty wheels would pass through the isolated sections of track that activates it. So to fix that, I added the Z-Stuff 1075M relay. Splicing this sensor in between the dead rail activation wire and signal ground wire provides a momentary ground output signal to the K&R signal, thus eliminating the flicker. Once the train leaves the block, the Z-Stuff relay deactivates after a couple seconds, and the signal cycles back through from red to yellow to green. I am experiencing something rather odd though. Some of my engines seem to cause the Z-Stuff relay to sporadically deactivate and reactivate, resulting in a brief change in signal color. It seems to only happen with multi-unit consists of 3 engines or more. As you can see, the signals work perfectly with these 2 Union Pacific engines pulling coal cars, but it flickers briefly when this 3-engine consist of BNSF engines enters the block. I'm still trying to work out this bug. I've already cleaned the track thoroughly. I'm hoping I can talk to Z-Stuff about it while at York, but if any of you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Something else I worked on that you likely would have never noticed is that I relayed several sections of track. The big one was this curve here. I didn't like the way that there was a long section of straight track right here. I wanted it to be closer to one large swooping curve, so I changed this curve from 090 to 099. I also took up all of the track to the left of the signal, through this switch, and up to this signal, so that I could add the insulated rail joiners so that I can make these signals work properly. I also relayed both of these flex track sections so that I could isolate the rails for the G-type signals, and I also fine-tuned the super elevation while I was at it. For those of you who don't know, super elevation is when you bank a railroad track curve. They do it in real life to prevent excessive wheel flange wear. I did it here on my layout because I just think it looks really great and prototypical as the train comes out of the tunnel and it comes speeding through the curve and into the town. And perhaps my favorite thing I've added to the layout is I've added more shelves. My dad helped me bring 3 shelves from the old layout. We made these several years ago, and it just so happened that I had a few perfect spots for them. So I have one here under the peninsula, another to the left in this area leading to the peninsula, and there's one more shelf back this way, but we have to walk into the laundry room to get to it. It's not the most ideal location in the world for a train shelf, but I need all the space that I can get, so there's one more shelf hanging in here as well. Here's my temporary workbench area for some of my tools and equipment as I work on the layout. There is still one more shelf at the old layout, but I don't think I have room for it. For now, it'll stay at my parents' basement as I continue to tear down that layout. And since I do have these shelves installed, I had more room to bring up more train cars from the old layout. Here's some footage of me bringing those cars up in apple crates, and as you can see, Shelby was thrilled that I brought more trains to the house. Isn't this awesome, Shelby? Back here in the main room, I also added these black dividers from Amazon to block off the furnace and hot water tank. This allows me to easily access the utilities when needed, but gets the eyesore hidden from the rest of the room. I might even hang some railroad placards and signage on the dividers to jazz them up a bit. These dividers work for now, but I might look for a better method in the future. But it gets everything hidden for now, and it looks a lot better than having the furnace and hot water tank just exposed in the open. And finally, we have the roundhouse area. You've all seen the turntable, which has been here for several months, and I finally received my roundhouse kit from Altoona Model Works. Here's the base right there, and on the floor in this box is the kit. So the base shows you that it's going to be a 5-stall roundhouse, and there are several extensions that are put on the kit. 3 of the stalls have extensions on the front, 3 of the stalls have extensions in the back. So the closest stall is the shortest one, and then stall number 2 has an extension in the back. Stalls 3 and 4 have extensions on the front and the back. That means that these 2 stalls are long enough to hold my MTH Big Boy and my MTH Allegheny. And then the last stall has an extension on the front, but not on the rear. Still is going to be large enough to hold my 611, my Hudsons, and most 484, 464 steam locomotives. So the good news is I have everything I need. The bad news is it's going to be a lot of work. This is a very extensive kit, and I'm no expert at painting and assembling kits such as these. This kit itself, when I first opened the box, it about terrified me with all the pieces and parts that were inside. Not to mention, I still need to cut the hole for the turntable and get that mounted. This area alone will keep me very busy this winter. So that's it for the peninsula area. Not much else has been done over on this side of the layout. I did relay a bunch of these curves here to make them work a little bit better, but not much else has been done towards the back of the layout. As I mentioned, lots of wiring has been taking place as it pertains to the signals, and my lounge area is still a nice place to relax and watch TV and play video games, and this shelf is still doing its job and looks as beautiful as ever, and I would still like to install another set of lights up here so that it can shine on the display case. So what are the next steps for the layout? Well, I need to finish wiring all the switches on the main table, which that shouldn't take too long. I need to wire the last 2 signals towards the back of the layout, which again, shouldn't take too long. I also want to sync the bases of these new signals so that they're flush with the table. And there's a few more access holes on the main table that I need to cut so that I'll have access once the 3rd level is built on top. But I do intend on starting construction on that 3rd level in the coming weeks, so that's pretty exciting. But I'm going to warn you all now, it's going to get pretty chaotic and messy down here after this update. I'll do my best to keep the updates coming, but between my job, my master's program, and the holidays coming up, it's going to be pretty difficult to find time to work on the layout, let alone make more videos, but I promise I'll do my best to keep you all updated. Before I run the trains, I do want to address my other 2 hobbies really quick. If you're not interested in hearing any of this, that's fine. You can skip ahead to the train action. I won't be offended. So as many of you know, when I was in college at Ohio State, I was the drum major of the marching band. It was a childhood dream of mine to be the leader of the band, and I got to do it for 2 years in the 2010 and 2011 football seasons. I still perform with the alumni marching band quite regularly. We actually just performed at the Ohio State versus Akron game a few weeks ago. And I had the honor of leading the home side Script Ohio, which was an absolute blast. And funny enough, I've got Script Ohio on my shirt right now. Being the drum major was a huge part of my life, and my passion for it still runs deep. I'm very fortunate that I still get to perform with the alumni band throughout the year. And now shifting to my other hobby, there of course is my love for cars, or more specifically, my love for Supras. Yes, I still have it. This is my 1994 twin-turbo 6-speed Supra with the Targa top option in Alpine Silver. I'm lucky to have purchased it so early in my life before the prices really skyrocketed. It's a bolt-on car, which means it has basic performance upgrades such as aftermarket intercooler, intake, downpipe, exhaust, boost controller, and a whole bunch of other cosmetic and electronic upgrades. It's making between 450 and 500 horsepower depending on the boost setting. I still need to dyno it to be sure. I just hit 100,000 miles this year and recently rebuilt the factory turbos to stock specs. When I take it to shows, people are always blown away by how clean and well maintained the car is. I have no intentions on modifying it any further other than restoring and replacing worn out parts. And no, this isn't the car I drive every day. I have a 2021 Chevy Blazer as my daily driver. So I'm extremely happy with the car the way it is. This is honestly the Supra I always dreamed of owning, and I think being content with what you have is extremely underrated. And honestly, I'm trying to apply that same mentality of being content with what you have to the model trains as well. I know it's a hobby driven by the slogan of just one more train, just one more train. But I already feel like I've amassed such a large collection at a relatively young age. I think I've just begun to shift my mindset to that mentality of quality over quantity. Now, I can't help but laugh when I say that as I walk out of the train store with another 4-pack of coal cars. But in general, my mindset has really shifted to having a focus on building a layout that can really showcase the collection I already own. So now I'm just really focused on that goal of building a layout to the best of my abilities. And my goals in this hobby have shifted in other ways as well. Thanks to YouTube, I now find myself in a position where I can help inspire other people in this hobby. I've gained quite a nice following of subscribers over the years, and I have you all to thank for that. I appreciate all of you who have subscribed to this channel, and I sincerely hope that you all continue to enjoy the content I publish. Well, that's going to be all for this layout update. Please give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean an awful lot. I also hope to see a bunch of you at York. It's going to be a great time. So, I'll leave you with clips of the trains running, like I always do. Feel free to ask questions in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.